Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
She's asleep. My name is Ruth, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Ruth. And it's good to be here, and it's good to be awake. When I read they didn't tell me what time. I want to thank the committee for putting me up late. I'm one of those people that go to work at 3:30 in the morning. So I want you to know that I've been up since that time. So I'm very sleepy. But I'm a very grateful, fortunate alcoholic. And that's why exactly what you heard tonight, you'll see me up here going, right? Okay. Because I want to share some of my experience and my strength and my hope with you. Because I could say for me today that Alcoholics Anonymous works, and Alcoholics Anonymous works good. And the only reason I know that tonight is, number one, I'm standing up here sober and clean. And I got some friends sitting out here sober and clean, so I know this thing works. And I'm also not so stupid tonight to think every last one of you sitting in this room is going to benefit by me standing up here. No way, not even close. Got to take care of this real close. But I also know that my God didn't send me in vain. He sent me in order that maybe that I talk to that one individual in this room tonight that maybe needs to hear something that I have to say. Now the rest of you will probably learn a whole hell of a lot of patience, tolerance, and some understanding as I get through with this thing tonight. And I want you to know, before I start, and I don't know why I'm going to say, but I'm going to anyway, I was very grateful that my friend Sean spoke tonight. I just happen to know him every once in a while by passing through in a convention. And he shared the honesty of what we go through even when we're still here. And I was so totally grateful. Because I know there's days I put on a big smile and I do that. I'm gonna be Mrs. A. Damn, it kills me. But I was so grateful that he shared that. And the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous said this to me, that I must tell you a little bit of what it was like, what happened, and how I live today. And oh, thank God, it says in a general way. Believe me, new one, that saves you up here. So the story I'm telling you tonight is as nice as I can get it for you. I call it cleaning it up a bit. Because you see, very early in my life, I was a rebel from the word get. I was one of these type kids, if my mother told me to go south, I immediately turned around and went north without even thinking about it. And I guess I had a pretty typical mom that used to sit home and she used to preach pretty typical things to her daughters, and this one did. She used to sit home and say things like, be a nice girl. Go to school and study. When you get of age, you marry a nice guy and you move off to the suburbs and bake cookies. Yuck. Now, that didn't sound interesting to me at all at the age of 11 years old. Now, I was born and raised in East Los Angeles, and I'm here to tell you tonight that East Los Angeles didn't have a darn thing to do with my drinking. It's the way that I drank that got me to Alcoholics Anonymous. But to show you how slick I ran most of my life, I didn't know East Los Angeles was a ghetto until I was in my 30s. So that shows you how slick I was. But at this early age, I used to go home and I used to watch gangster movies on TV. And I got obsessed with watching gangster movies on TV. So I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to grow up and become a gangster. Because, you see, it sounded more interesting than baking cookies in the suburbs, right? Now, they didn't have no good old gangsters like they had on that TV, but I picked me the closest thing that I can find to it at this time. I joined my first gang at the age of 11 years old. And the initiation to that gang that day was I had to drink a fifth of white port and lemon juice. Hang on a minute. Hold on. And that stuff burnt going down, and it burnt coming back up again. But I chugged a lug till it stayed down. Now I don't know what happened to anybody else that day that was being initiated. But I do know what happened to me. Between the top and the bottom of the bottle, I fell in love. Now, I didn't fall in love with, gee, what a cute bottle this is in. Oh, I like the color of this stuff. I didn't fall in love with none of that. I fell in love with what it did in my gut. It filled that big hole that I had right smack in the middle of my guts, and it filled up all my fears, and it filled up all my insecurities, and I stood up straighter, and I looked at the gal next to me, and I said, where are we going? And who we going with? Because I was ready to live. Now, I wasn't no daily drinker at this time, and I hadn't even discovered no morning drinks. Thank you. I was one of these Friday, Saturday, and Sunday drinker, and whenever I can get my hands on it. Now, I've had a few people ask me dumb questions. Even in Alcoholics Anonymous, they ask me a few dumb questions. And someone would slip up to me, and this usually falls around the Kansas area, right? Someone will slip up to me and say something like, how did you acquire alcohol at the age of 11 years old? We know here, right? I said, very simple. I stood on corners by liquor stores and I hit on people going in and out of there. And eventually somebody's going to come by and buy you a bottle. But do you know I had bad days even then? Somebody would come by and rip me off for my booze or my money. And with all my heart to this very night, I believe it was alcoholics that did that to me. Yeah. Had to be. This is the time I watch you through the room. Yeah. And I asked if any of you've ever been in the East Los Angeles area. Some many years back, and ripped off that kid. You can make amends to me after this meeting's over. And I've gotten a few. Had an odd sister born into the family. Odd. Used to claim to my mom they gave us the wrong baby in the hospital. They had to be the wrong kid. She was the nicest, sweetest, had a very soft, gentle voice. She went to school and studied, and she got A's on her report card. And she went to Mass twice on Saturday. on Sundays? Huh? Roman Catholic. Had to add that. Made her bed. Sickening girl. I try to teach this girl all the good things in life. How to ditch. How to rip and run and party. Hop out windows. She wouldn't go for it. But I never forgot my party, and it was a complete party when she came home with the husband-to-be, and he's sitting in our living room couch. And I come strolling in with my hip, slick, cool self. I used to say I got so cool out there I almost froze to death by the time I got here. But anyway, I come strolling across this living room. This guy's sitting in our living room couch with one of these crew cuts on his head, Ivy League pants on, and white shoes. No, you don't see white shoes in East LA. And I remember grabbing this sister and I hauled her into the bedroom and I gave her my famous lecture. Are you crazy? You're going to marry this guy, move off to the suburbs and be miserable for the rest of your life. Now, she got a strange look on her face that she got every time that I talked to her. And I didn't understand that for years. Well, thank God she didn't listen to me, because to this very night, right now, she's still out in them suburbs doing that cookie bit. Right? Now, no way, shape, form did Ruth want to screw her life up like my sister had. So I went on as running as hard and as fast as I can run now. And again, newcomer, took me some years in Alcoholics Anonymous to figure out who in the hell I was running from all those years. You see, I was running from me all those years. I never ever wanted me to catch up with me. It was too painful. So I was always very busy with this finger right here. You know that one that comes out and goes, their fault, his fault, everybody's fault. But it's not my fault. It's their fault. So I went on a hell of a run. Around the age of 18 years old now, my friends started marrying off. And I didn't want to be left out. So I looked around the neighborhood. I found me the hippest, slickest, coolest guy and get to marry me at the time. And me and him were going to go low riding off into the sunset. Forever. And for some of us it was por vida. Remember that one? Yeah. Now, unfortunately, 3 months of marriage and this man was screaming. And he was screaming about things I didn't understand. He started talking about, when are you going to wash? When are you going to cook? Then his next words completely threw me. We were done. He says, you know, you don't drink like a lady. And I said, well, how do ladies drink? He says, ladies drink out of a glass. Not out of a bottle like you do. Right? I needed this information. And you see, he didn't understand. Anytime I uncap the bottle, I always drink for relief. And I want relief quick. And I want it as fast as I can get it down there. Now, I know there's going to be quite a few of you in this room tonight that identify with a couple of drunks I'll talk about. You know those drunks we come to the next day and we ask dumb questions before we learn not to ask the dumb questions, and we say stuff like this. Does anybody know where we left the car? Does anybody know why I have this black eye? And this one was my favorite. Did we have fun last night? New one. If you identify with any of those, welcome to the program of alcohol. See, I thought that was normal drinking. Abnormal drinking to me were people who sipped. And you've seen them. You know those ones that piss you off, right? Because they do stupid stuff like, oh, I don't like this. Like what's that? Drink that, I don't like. Or they say stupid things like, I had enough. And you're like, and that's how come I say I didn't hang out with people like that. No. This marriage dissolved very quickly after this. But I had one son. And I'm here to tell you tonight that I love my son. And I love my son like a mother loves a child. And I held this little one close to me. And I felt love for that small human being. And I made a statement in the hospital that I meant with all my heart. I said, everything in the world there is to give, I'm going to try to give it to you, and I meant that. But you see, newcomer, I didn't know. I did not know I was afflicted with the disease of alcoholism and that I would get progressively worse. I always thought I would get better. My famous cries throughout my life till I came to the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous went like this. Tomorrow. Yeah, remember those? You got to know plenty of those. Tomorrow I'm going to get myself together and everything's going to be okay tomorrow. And my next famous cry went like this. If they would only just leave me alone and let me drink. I don't want their information. You ever had alcoholics in the old days give you information on how to go out and drink? Drink olive oil before you go out to drink. It coats the lining of your stomach and you can drink more. We try all these damn tricks, right? I'm here to tell you tonight it don't work. It's a mess, right? And olive oil is very hard to get out of clothes, right? Yeah. And like I said, that had that young son. And I took that little boy to places you don't take young children. And that little boy ran with me wherever I went. And I ran hard. And I met another man that passed through my life at this time. And this is a part of the story I wanted to cut out. I really did. Because you heard what I said. I stood up here tonight and I said, my name is Ruth and I am an alcoholic. And the old timers told me not to cut it out. Even though I want. Sometime even today I want to. I met another man that passed through my life at this time, and God was this guy cool. Kind of looked like he was in the state of rigor mortis, and I like that. Right? So I took to living with him. I said, this guy's cool. But I found out one thing real quick about him. He wasn't too cool in the morning. He was real nervous and twitchy, and his nose ran a lot. And he would jam into that bathroom, and when he came out of that bathroom, he was cool. Now, it didn't take Ruth too very long to figure out that whatever he had in the bathroom, I wanted some. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I want some. Right? And I bug this guy, and I bug him long enough, and he hauls me to that bathroom. I sit on that bathroom floor, and I took a fix of heroin with this guy. Now again tonight, I wish I could tell you, Ruthie was not gonna like this run. And I'm not gonna like smashing through the lies I'm now gonna smash through. I'm not gonna like the feelings of desperation that are gonna run deep inside of my body. But most of all, I'm not gonna like those things called self-hatred. Because you see, Nguyen, the more I hate me, the more I hate each and every one of you. And that hate started to run deep inside of me. And when you ran with people like I ran with, you don't trust. And it was around this time, and I really believe it with my whole heart, that God started to make some moves in my life. And the first event, I started to go in and out, and a couple of more in and out of those jails. But I never, dear God, want to forget the last half of it. Because the woman I'm going to talk about for the next couple of minutes was an animal. Alcohol and drugs took its toll in my life. And they had sent me to a place called CRC, the California Rehabilitation Center in Narco, to rehabilitate me for the second time. And while I was in that institution, I hurt somebody pretty badly, and I'm not proud, because they had a thing in there at that time, a narco bus to it. There was nothing to get loaded on. And when I was in that institution, I was walking around in my own skin, and I didn't like walking around in my own skin. And I not only became very dangerous to my own self, I became very dangerous to other people. So I hurt this woman pretty badly in there. And one of the things they didn't tolerate in that institution at that time was violent people. And violence was most of my life. So they shipped me from that institution, and they shipped me to a place called CIW Women's Penitentiary. And in the Women's Penitentiary, they had a place to put incorrigible people like me, and it's a place that is deep, called Deep Six. 6 feet underground. And they put you in that hole until you can become a model prisoner. I call it breaking your spirit. And they leave you down there until you can become a model prisoner. And after a period of time, they had to put me back into prison population. And after a period of time, they paroled me. And when I was in that hole, I completely, totally swore off of drugs. Never again in my whole life am I ever going to use drugs again. And I meant that. And as soon as I got out, and as soon as I got into L.A., before I reported to anything or anyone, I walked into a nearest bar. And I sat on that bar stool and I ordered me one drink. What's one drink going to do to me? Just one. You know that one that takes the edge off? That one. The one that unclenches your jaw? That's the one I went for. Right? The one that makes you talk again. Right? The one that makes you intense. That's the drink I went for. And alcohol did not leave my life till I came through the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it was around this time I would protect my alcohol. And some of the old ones around here remember tucking their alcohol under their arm when you're taking it in that little brown bag. And you'll fall down and break your face, but don't break your bottle, right? And I totally identify. That was my whole life in there. And I would stand up to anybody and lie, cheat, and steal just to keep it in my life. And it is around this time my family made a big mistake. I claim to this night it's the biggest one they ever made. Because you see, my mom got too old to take care of my children. Children. So my mom sent 5 children home to a full-blown alcoholic. And then to this very night, I have to tell you that most of the stuff I'm going to tell you about right now is hearsay. It's all bits and pieces that come back, and some of it was told to me, and it was like, hope they didn't lie too bad. Huh? Because I'm a blackout drinker. Blackout drinker. So I don't know a lot of stuff that went on when those children went home. But I would just make bits and pieces of coming to in the morning. And 5 children. And you would think it was a model home because they were quiet kids. They didn't cry, they didn't make noises. And people would say, God, they're nice children. That is not normal. Normal children are supposed to make noises. I didn't know that. And I would come to in that morning, and I'd go through that hallway, and I'd crack that door, and I wouldn't open it all the way where those children were, and I would count feet. Because I didn't know what happened the night before. I don't know what conditions those children are in. I don't know if they ate. I don't know what was going on. And it was around this time, and again, I believe it with all my heart, that God stepped into my life and He did for me what I couldn't do for my own self. Or maybe He stepped in for the children. And I believe that. Because they came in a very early morning, and they had court orders. And it was the county welfare department. And they came in through that front door of that house, and they started gathering up these children. And if you ever seen screaming and yelling and crying and children terrified being tore out of that house, and this maniac mother running down the driveway as they're shoving these children inside of I still remember the color of the car, lime green county car. They're throwing these children in. And this maniac mother runs out in that driveway. And my oldest boy was looking out the back window of that car when they started to haul him away. And I looked right into his eyes. It might have been probably a second. But I can still remember that to this very night. And we locked eyes. And I seen that look in his eye that I had seen in many people's eyes before. I seen it in the cops' eyes. I seen it in the judge's eyes. I seen it in my parents. That didn't mean that bad to me. But when I saw that look in his eyes, I wanted to die. Sometime later, they hauled me to another courtroom, and I had been in plenty of courtrooms. But I had never been in a child custody courtroom. And a judge went through my jacket, and he went from 11 years old up to 32 years old, looked down on me and said this: "A woman like you should have never borne no children. And we will see to it for the remainder of your life you never see your children again." Boom, they were gone, wards of the court. And I knew what it was to feel rotten, no good, zero, over and out. Zero. And I went home, I decided to drink myself to death. Drink and just drink. And it stopped working. It stopped couldn't deaden that pain. I drank and I was still wide-eyed. So I decided alcohol was not killing me fast enough. And I know there's many of us that we've died 1,000 deaths before alcohol, 1,000 times. And I went into a dirty bathroom. I was hanging out in bathrooms. Right? And I went into this dirty bathroom to blow my head off. And I held this gun to my head. And I don't know why, but tonight I'm going to tell you what happened. God hit me in the vanity. I'm all jacked up. Okay, and I had this gun in my head, and the funniest thought went through my head as I held that gun. How am I going to look in my coffin with a big old hole in my... Does God know what to do? Let's hit her in the vanity, right? So I dropped it. Right? And I screamed the next best thing that I can think of. I screamed to that higher power that you talked about tonight, Sean. You know that one that we say we're in a jail cell and nobody's looking? Or we're okay? Or we're in a bad accident or something happened? Or we're going to trial or anything? And we say, get me out of this one. And I ain't going to do it again. That's the God I went to that night. I said, God, help me. And I believe with my whole heart that was the first surrender I ever made. Very first, because it was hard to surrender. But anyway, God moved very strangely with me because I was very strange at this time. Some nights later, some people ventured over too drunk to drive. I drove their car, ended up back in the county jail for women on the first and only at that time called 502. When I got physically healthy, I was laying on a bunk one night, and over the intercom they announced, AA in the dining room. Now, with all this wisdom I had learned from the streets at that time, I poked a bunk in mine and said, what the hell is American Airlines doing in this place? Never heard of this thing. Huh? And with all her wisdom, she said, I don't know. I said, well, they must be hitting rock bottom for stewardesses, right? And we need a job when we get out of here. Of course, you know it turned out to be Alcoholics Anonymous. And four nice ladies dressed up like this were talking with the big book. I don't know what they were talking. They were talking a strange language. So I poked her and I said, forget it. They're not going to let us in that organization. Are you crazy? Them people are all dressed up. You're crazy. They ain't going to let us in there. When they find out where we come from, forget it. They're kicking us out. Right? So I left her. I left her with good intentions. I'm not going to do it on my own. And 3 months later, I was a disaster, living with the mattress on the floor, Viva la Raza, across the ceiling. Still can't figure that one out. Ain't even going to try. And the landlord had offered me $100 to move out. Things were looking up. I had money coming, right? Things were changing now, right? When God blessed that gal I jailed with, God loved her. To this day, she didn't ever died in vain, this girl. Rosemary. That was her name. Somewhere during that meeting, that gal caught that you can make a phone call to Alcoholics Anonymous. So she phoned Alcoholics Anonymous because she said I was looking bad. I was telling you crazy. I never even phoned them. She did. And that night, they sent 2 people down there on a 12-step call. And they didn't come one time. They came night after night. You know what? They're clear eyes. And they started toting us off to these funny meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I sat as far back in the rooms as I can get. Far back. Outside of the door if I could have. Right? And you know what happened? My finger came out again. There it came. And it used to go through the group. Look at that one. He's so old, he ought to stop drinking. And God bless my old home group. They tolerated me. From a distance, they used to say, keep coming back. And I did. And God bless them. They didn't say, oh, we don't like the way you're dressed, you can't come here. They didn't say that. We don't like where you came from, you can't come here. They didn't say that either. They said silly stuff like, keep coming back. Bring the body. The mina catch up later. I'm still waiting. All right? It's getting closer. Getting closer. Okay. I was sitting in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, far back in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and this beautiful gal that had made the phone call for me had chose to leave, and 8 years later she was dead. And I was sitting in a meeting. I don't know how long I had been here, I really don't. But I was sitting in the back of a meeting, and that night I had decided that it wasn't going to work for me. It's going to work for you, but it's not going to work for me. I don't want these people to find out where I came from, because I heard you getting up there sharing where you came from and stuff. And I said, oh no, they're all just ratting themselves out, and this is terrible, right? Okay? Yeah. And so anyway, I was sitting in a meeting, and this beautiful man got up and started to share. And this man now's in that big meeting up there. But God put that Eskimo right there. And this man started to share. And he didn't try to put pretty things together and all this stuff. He shared a thing in Alcoholics Anonymous. Now you've seen a book with it, and it's called The Language of the Heart. One drunk talking to another drunk. And that night, that man, although he didn't know it at the time, in a participation meeting, gave me a tiny ray of hope, but before that time was hopeless. And I went home that night with that tiny ray, because in my group, in my time, they taught that thing called complete abstinence. Oh, God! Nothing! I don't know what that did to you, but that tore the hell out of me. Nothing. I said, well, this is Alcoholics Anonymous. They said, we don't get nothing. Wow. You know what happened? The next night, Mrs. Koo came back to the meeting. My eyes twitching. I used to think guys thought I was winking at them. And that night, I raised my hand. It got up about this high. Thank God I didn't tell you to stand at that time. But my hand went about this high. I used to think you had short hand spotters in your room, and they found my little short hand, and I identified as an alcoholic that night. And I have not found it necessary since that night to take a drink or anything chemical into Ruth one day at a time. And that's been a little over 28 years ago. Now, I wish tonight, that's for Alcoholics Anonymous. That's like, no. I didn't grow through no leaps and bounds in Alcoholics Anonymous. I probably would have leaped right out of here. Sometimes I still don't grow through leaps and bounds in Alcoholics Anonymous. But the bottom line that I do know is I hang on. I hang on to it for dear life. Because it is my life. It is my life. I hang on like the tight. To this day. To this day, those old timers will start talking in my head. Go to meetings, son. Just go to meetings. Sit at start listening. And that's what I still do to this day, especially when I get nuts today. I'll start doing that same thing. But let me tell you some events that happened real quickly. God decided to send me one of those things called a sponsor. I didn't want one. Because I watched them. I saw what they did. They used to scare the hell out of me. That's what they did. Right? So God sent me a sponsor. And at this time and at that particular group, the sponsor would walk up to you and say, I'm your sponsor. Ooh. And I went, oh my God. Right? And the sponsor started to tell me strange things like read the book and you take the 12 steps to the best you. Oh, just walking me through all this stuff. Me nuts and the sponsor pulling. And then one day I was 2 years sober. 2 years. I couldn't believe it. And I got a phone call after a meeting one night. I never asked for my children back. Never. Never. And I'll tell you why tonight I didn't. Because when I got here, I felt I had lost every right in the world to ever be a parent again. This is gone. So I didn't like it, but I accepted it. But I got this phone call after a meeting one night, and they said, hey, we've been keeping an eye on you. And I said, that's okay today, you can do that. They said, no, you don't understand. We're going to return your children. All 5 of them at the same time. Jesus. You notice you can get happy, huh? I want you to know fear hit my chest. Boom! And I ran to that sponsor. I mean, jumped right to that sponsor's house. And you know how sponsors are. They let you rant and rage and get it all out. I'll get all your... And as a parent, I don't know how. And I'm a single parent. I tried everything. Sponsor waiting patient, huh? Then this sponsor hit me with something just blew me away. Said, now, you take everything you've gathered in Alcoholics Anonymous, and you take a chapter called The Family Afterwards, and you take this program home with you. God, isn't it so easy to work Alcoholics Anonymous during meetings? Spiritual. Go home and want to kill the family. And sponsor pounding. Take it home, take it home, take it home. So little by little and inch by inch, we started to grow as a family. And again, we didn't grow through leaps and bounds because alcoholism is a family disease. And we didn't get over it overnight. I started to run them off to Alateen and Alatot, and if there would have been a dog, it was Doggy Tot, right? And then I would ask them, what do you guys talk about in Alateen? They said, we're anonymous. Those kids were too much, right? Then one day, God decided that this family was going to move, and we moved to the suburbs. Yeah, that's what I said. I don't know about you, but I didn't like the suburbs, right? And I said, God, this is too quiet. No helicopters flying around. No cop cars or sirens. I don't like this. People knocking on your door and asking you shit like, you want to go to a Tupperware party? And I called the sponsor, and the sponsor would say, go to the Tupperware party. Jesus, why? I don't see that in the book. Do you see that in the book, go to a Tupperware party? Huh?
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
My sponsor said, yes, it is. It's called the mainstream of life. That's what I said, So little by little, we started to grow. Then I got to share you this story because I don't know why, I just want to. I call it my story of growing, where I got de-hipped. I started becoming square. Took a while. My two daughters came to me one night once when they were home, and they said, hey, Mom, we like to join the Girl Scouts. And I said, oh, why not? So I took them down. I bought them the strangest looking green little uniforms you ever laid on. Then when I got them home, this is what they laid on me. Mom, we need a Girl Scout leader in our school. Nope. Now my first reactions to him was, no, that's dead. What if somebody sees me? But you got to be very cautious with children that get around Alcoholics Anonymous. It might not seem like it, but they catch things in these meetings real quick. And then they take it home. And they use it. So if you don't plan to stay, don't bring your children around here. Because they'll take it home. So they threw it back at me. You could do it. One day at a time, but you can't do it. So there I went up and down mountains for a couple of more years with 40 giggling. Oh, Jesus. And I never forgot my first camp out. We camped out in the mountains in tents. And one little girl shakes me awake. She goes, Miss Sanchez, do you realize that this is the first time in my life I've been camping? And I said, no shit, huh? This is the first time in my life I've ever been camping. And I was learning to live. Yeah, because time is short. And I became square not too long after that. I got to share you some more growth. I'm going to share you the difference now. We're talking 28 years later. We're talking children grown up. Don't ask me because I don't know why. I just don't know why. They grew straight and strong. And not warped and crooked. I take none credit for that. I owe it to a loving God and a program called Alcoholics Anonymous. My oldest boy, the one that looked out the back window of that car, now lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Pillar of the community, sits on city councils. And I went out there last year. Oh. No, I'm not going to tell this because it'll make me cry so. Nah, I have to now because I already screwed up and started it, right? When I went out there, we went to dinner, and he took me to a nice restaurant. He's such a nice gentleman. And I tell him when I grow up, I want to be something like him. He teaches me refinement and stuff, right? He taught me how to listen to Bach music and, oh, Jesus, yeah. And I like it, I want you to know. Yeah. He takes me to, like, nutcracker ballets and, oh, cool guy, right? But anyway, we were at dinner, and he says, you know, Ma, have you ever seen a diamond that was in the rough And when they take it out of the ground, the raw material, and it's rough. He says, you know, when AA got you, that's what you were. Like that rock. And AA over the years polished you. And then I started laughing. Hey, well, there's a few more edges, you know. And he said they polished you and they shined you up. And he opened a box and gave me this bracelet with the diamonds, right? He said, because that's you in Alcoholics Anonymous today, shining. That kid's got to stop doing that to me. And all of them, through all the children, they presented me now with 14 grandchildren. And I love being a grandma. I get to kiss them. I get to hug them. I spoil them, give them a lot of sugar, and send them home. And then I send them home cold. Right? And I don't know why I'm going to share this other one. I don't know why, but it's important. Because through the family, it's gone down. And now my grandchildren are seeing things with Alcoholics Anonymous. And I got them from 16 years old going down to 8 months. And there's a white poker chip, those old white poker chips. A long time ago, my children started putting that chip on the Christmas trees. And so as each of them grew up and left the home, they would put that, I'd have to go find white ones. Not the nice ones, it had to be the white poker chip one. So anyway, I found some, and so I had one hanging in my car on the car thing. And one of my grandchildren was sitting in the car, and I'm driving. And my grandson says, Grandma. I said, what? He says, how come you have a Christmas tree ornament in your car? So my grandchildren think those chips are Christmas tree ornaments, right? But let me share a little more strength and hope, and I'm going to sit down because I'm a little tired tonight. And I'm going to tell you about that great prayer called God Grant Me the Serenity. And this is what it says to me. It says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And I cannot change people, places, nor things to fit me. Hell, it won't go. I tried for years. And the courage to change things I can. An inside job on Ruthie. Because you heard it many times tonight. I had to do an inside job on Ruthie to shake hands and get to know who I was. So I can love me and be able to love you. And I found my God as I understand God in rooms like this. And I'm going to tell you where I see God. I see God in your eyes. I see that twinkle and that love come back into those eyes again. And you start to walk amongst the living again. And I see God in each and one of those things. And in everything that happens in Alcoholics Anonymous. I want to thank the committee for having me here. And I want to thank each and every one of you. Okay, for one night, 28 years ago, you kept the door open for me. And I live a brand new life. Completely, totally opposite of the person that I talked to you tonight. I want you to know that if a cricket gets in my house, they're going, kill it. I said, don't kill that cricket. You pick it up and put it outside. And that's the difference in my life today, is caring and love for my fellow human being. And what a wonderful thing to feel is love for my fellow human being. But I want to tell you who I love the most. I love each and every one of you. Because you never told me to get out. You said, come with us, stay with us, and you'll live a brand new life. And that's what I say, no one. Come with us, stay with us, and live a brand new life. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you for the water too, sweetheart. Thank you. Thank God we're home, huh?
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.